There is a good reason that nutritionists and dietitians remind us to be mindful of our eating habits and weight changes. When life feels out of control, like after experiencing narcissistic abuse, food can sometimes become a coping mechanism. Maybe you find yourself turning to comfort food for emotional relief or losing your appetite altogether. Today we'll dive into why narcissistic abuse can lead to emotional eating and how it affects your relationship with food and body image. We'll explore the emotional triggers behind these changes and offer some tips on regaining control over your health. Are you ready for number 1? Stress response. When you're under the constant stress of narcissistic abuse, your body reacts by pumping out more cortisol, which is a stress hormone. Nutritionist Dr. Susan Albers says, emotional eating is often a response to stress and anxiety. So, when you feel that pressure, it's no wonder you might crave those comforting high-calorie foods. Listen carefully. To overcome emotional eating triggered by stress, recognize the cycle and adopt healthier coping mechanisms, like mindfulness or stress relief techniques. It helps you to break free from using food as a temporary emotional fix. Let's talk about number 2. Low self-esteem. When you're stuck in a cycle of narcissistic abuse, it's common to feel low self-esteem. This feeling can mess with your relationship with food. Sometimes you might turn to food for comfort. You think it will fill that empty feeling inside. At other times, you might lose your appetite altogether, feeling unworthy of nourishment. Therapist Dr. Mary Pfeiffer says, when people feel worthless, they may neglect their own needs. It means your eating habits can swing between overeating and undereating, both of which can lead to weight changes. Let me teach you something. Focus on rebuilding your self-worth through self-care and setting healthy boundaries. In doing so, you allow yourself to treat food as nourishment rather than emotional escape. Let's move on to number 3. Loss of control. Narcissistic abuse can leave you feeling powerless, often leading to attempts to regain control through food choices, whether by indulging in comfort foods or restricting your intake. As Dr. Judith Orloff notes, people frequently seek comfort in food when they feel out of control, resulting in a cycle of emotional eating and weight fluctuations. To break this cycle, focus on establishing small, manageable routines that prioritize self-care and healthy habits, helping you regain a sense of control over your life. Now, let's continue to number 4. Compulsive eating. When you're going through the tough effects of narcissistic abuse, it's common to find yourself eating compulsively. This constant need to snack can be a way to distract yourself from what you're feeling. Nutrition expert Dr. Albers says, emotional eaters often turn to food as a way to cope with stress and pain. So, instead of facing those tough emotions, you might reach for chips or sweets, hoping they'll fill the void. But while it might feel comforting at the moment, this habit can lead to weight changes that only add to your stress. It creates a cycle that's hard to escape. Consider this tip. To overcome compulsive eating, focus on addressing your emotions directly through mindfulness or therapy. It helps break the cycle of using food as a coping mechanism. You shouldn't miss number 5. Negative body image. When you're experiencing narcissistic abuse, it can twist how you see your body. You might start to feel like your worth is tied to how you look, which can lead to a negative body image. This distorted view often makes you more critical of yourself and can lead to unhealthy eating habits, whether that's binging or undereating. Therapist Dr. Anita Johnston says, negative body image can fuel disordered eating, as people often try to control their appearance in unhealthy ways. So, instead of nourishing yourself, you might find yourself caught in a cycle of guilt and shame about food and your body. Let me give you some friendly advice. To overcome negative body image, focus on rebuilding self-worth through self-compassion and healthy habits rather than letting appearance define your value. Are you still up for number 6? Sleep disturbances. When you're dealing with the stress of narcissistic abuse, it can mess with your sleep. You might find it hard to fall asleep or stay asleep, which leaves you feeling exhausted. Dr. Michael Bruce, a sleep expert, puts it perfectly. When we don't get enough sleep, our bodies crave high-calorie foods to make up for the energy we're missing. So, you might find yourself raiding the fridge at 2 a.m., convincing yourself that those leftover pizza slices are basically healthy food because you're too tired to cook. Keep this in mind. To overcome sleep disturbances, establish a calming bedtime routine and manage stress to improve sleep quality. It reduces the late-night cravings that come from exhaustion. Let's keep it moving to number 7. Changes in metabolism. When you're going through the emotional roller coaster of narcissistic abuse, it can mess with your metabolism. Stress and emotional turmoil can disrupt how your body processes food and burns calories. It might mean that even if you're eating the same amount, your body isn't handling it the way it should. Nutritionist Dr. Amy Lee explains, chronic stress can slow down metabolism, making it harder to maintain a healthy weight. So, if you notice that your body is reacting differently to food, or that weight changes are happening despite your efforts, it's likely tied to the stress you're experiencing. Consider this tip. To overcome this, focus on stress management and incorporate regular physical activity to support a healthy metabolic rate. Here comes number 8. Routine disruption. When you're caught in the chaos of narcissistic abuse, your daily routine can get completely thrown off. You might find yourself skipping meals or eating at odd times because your focus is elsewhere, and that can lead to erratic eating patterns. As life coach Dr. Karen Koenig says, consistency in eating is key to a healthy relationship with food. So when your routine is disrupted, it's easy to fall into habits like binging or forgetting to eat altogether. This inconsistency not only affects how you feel physically, but can also make it harder to manage your weight. Pay attention to this. Establish small, consistent meal habits to regain control and promote a healthier relationship with food, even amidst chaos. Moving on to number 9. Negative eating habit formation. When you're in a situation where unhealthy eating is the norm, especially around a narcissist, it can skew your relationship with food. You might start to notice that whenever stress hits, you grab a bag of chips or ice cream, thinking it's a comfort. It can become a habit, making emotional eating feel like your go-to solution for dealing with tough feelings. As therapist Dr. Jennifer Hartstein puts it, emotional eating can easily become a learned behavior in stressful environments. Consider this tip. To overcome negative eating habits, consciously replace unhealthy snacks with healthier options. Additionally, practice mindful eating to reconnect with your emotions rather than using food as a coping mechanism. Finally, we're down to number 10. Memories associated with food. When you've been through the ringer of narcissistic abuse, certain snacks can become your personal time machine, transporting you back to happier days. Maybe those cookies remind you of cozy family gatherings. Suddenly, you're drowning your sorrows in a full box, because who doesn't want to relive the good times? As therapist Dr. Judith Orloff says, food can be a source of comfort, but it can also serve as a reminder of what we're missing. So while it might feel like you're just indulging yourself, you could actually be unknowingly trying to fill an emotional void with comfort food wrapped in nostalgia. Remember this, it's okay to enjoy those foods, but maybe balance them out with some fresh memories too, like a picnic with friends instead of a solo snack binge. Indeed, narcissistic abuse can significantly affect your relationship with food and body image. often leading to emotional eating as a coping mechanism for the pain and stress of the experience. Weight changes reflect this inner turmoil. But remember, you're not alone. Acknowledging the link between your emotions and eating habits is a vital first step toward healing. Be gentle with yourself, seek support, and find healthier coping strategies. Take it one day at a time. You deserve to feel good inside and out.